Namo Bhagavate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today is a auspicious day. It's the disappearance day of two Goswamis, two Vaishnavas, and we wanted to remember them both. So first one is Bhugarbha Goswami. So we seek the blessings of Radha Mother, Radha Shyamsundar, Radha Damodar, Vishnu Balaram, Bhugarbha Goswami Kasisvara Pandit, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled devotees, so that we can tap into this mercy of the devotees. Without the mercy of the devotees, we can't progress. So devotees are very important in our lives. So who is this Bhugarbha Goswami? Just as there is very little mentioned in the scriptures about the life of Srila Lokanath Goswami, in the same way, there is little written about his dear friend, Srila Bhugarbha Goswami. These were both very humble devotees, and they were very close friends. Srila Lokanath and Bhugarbha Goswamis were of one heart and mind. On the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they went to live in Vrindavan. Bhugarbha Goswami was a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit. And Gadadhar Pandit, we know, is incarnation of Srimati Radharani. Amongst his disciples were Sri Govindev Pujari, Chaitanya Das, as well as Mukund Anand Chakravarti and Premi Krishnadas and others. Krishnadas Kaviraj, he writes, the 11th branch of Gadadhar Goswami was Bhugarbha Goswami, and the 12th was Bhagavad Das. Both of them went to Vrindavan and resided there for life. Srila Kavi Karnapur writes in his Gaura Ganadesh Dipika that Bhugarbha Goswami was formerly the gopi named Prem Manjari in Vrindavan. So, very powerful personality. While in Vrindavan, Bhugarbha Goswami passed away and entered into the unmanifest pastimes of the Lord on the 14th day of the full moon in the month of Kartik, which is today. Srila, oh, I know, but the 14 days today. I think Purnima is tomorrow. Srila Narahari Chakravarti Thakur writes about Lokanath Goswami and Bhugarbha Goswami in his Bhakti Ratnakar. Bhugarbha Goswami and Lokanath Goswami were world preachers. They were so close and affectionate to one another that they were like one body. In Vrindavan, Bhugarbha Goswami and Lokanath Goswami were regarded as amongst the principal Goswamis, as they were senior by age and experience to many. They were even senior to the 6 Goswamis. The foremost among the subsequent followers of Rupa Goswami, Narottam Das Goswami, or Narottam Das Thakur, writes about Bhugarbha Goswami, with whom he had much affectionate association. And the reason for that was Narottam Das Thakur's spiritual master was actually Lokanath Goswami, who's very close to Bhugarbha Goswami. Oh Hari, why am I addicted to this abominable path of karma? I didn't worship Radha Krishna in Braj, even one lota, nor could I understand the position of spontaneous devotion, Ragma. Swarup Damoda Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt, Raghunath Das, Gopal Bhatt Goswami, Bhugarbha Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and Lokanath Goswami. I never offered a drop of service to their lotus feet. How shall I attain the goal of life? Krishnadas Kaviraj is amongst the most exalted Rasika Bhaktas, devotees whose sole interest is in relishing the mellows of devotion to Radha Govinda and Mahaprabhu. He compiled the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which describes the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya, and Govinda Lilamrita describes the pastimes of Radha Krishna. So Krishnadas Kaviraj has written amazing books, Chaitanya Charitamrita and Govinda Lilamrita. Hearing the pastimes of Gaur Govind would melt even stone, but it had no effect on my consciousness. Not only have I failed to take advantage of the association of all these great souls, but I have also neglected their associates and followers. What a sad story my life has become. My birth and My life and birth are all useless. Shame on me. Alas, alas, thus laments Narottam. So, of course, Narottam is actually speaking on our behalf. Narottam Das Thakur himself is a self-realized personality. This bhajan is really for us to get into the mood of understanding that we are wasting our life. Bhugarbha Goswami and Lokanath Goswami simply wandered around Vrindavan, calling out the names of her 12 forests. Bandiravan, Kamyavan, Mahavan, Talavan. And Srimati Vrindadevi, the maintainer of the forest and the expansion of Krishna's pastime potency, revealed the exact location of each and every forest. So they knew where the forests were. Before the arrival of Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatana Goswamis, they tried to uncover the lost places of Radha Govindji. They simply wandered around Vrindavan calling out the names of her 12 forests. To avoid material distractions, this is where Bhugarbha Goswami really stands out, would perform his bhajan underground. So he received the name Bhugarbha. Bhu means earth, Garbha means cave or womb, hidden place. So that's why he's called Bhugarbha. He used to hide himself, chanting his japa underground. In that way, he wouldn't be disturbed. He is Premanjali in Radha Gopinath's Nitya Nikunja Leela. His samadhi stands near the Srila Rupa Goswami's in Radha Damodar temple courtyard. And this is Radha Damodar. Very, very beautiful. We were very fortunate to have darshan of Radha Damodar recently. This is Radha Damodar. This is actual darshan of Radha Damodar. This is Bhugarbha Goswami's samadhi in that complex, in that temple complex. So Bhugarbha Goswami ki jai. And then we want to talk about the next Goswami or Pandit or Pandit. Kasisvara. He also disappeared on this day today. Sri Kasisvara Pandit was a disciple of Ishwara Puri. Now, Ishwara Puri is the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Kasisvara Pandit is a godbrother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His father's name was Srila Vasudeva Bhattacharya. His last name was Chaudhary. He was from the section of family Brahmins coming from the dynasty of Kanchilal Kanu. Srila Prabhupada writes, his nephew, his sister's son, who was named Rudra Pandit, was the original priest of Vallabhpur in the village of Chitara. Installed there are deities of Radha Govind and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kasisvara Goswami was a very strong man, and therefore when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the temple of Jagannath, he used to protect the Lord from the crowds. Another of his duties was to distribute prasad to the devotees after the kirtan. He was also one of the contemporaries of the Lord who was with the Lord in Jagannath Puri. So Kasisvara Pandit is a very close associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also visited this temple at Vallabhpur. Vallabhpur is where he was born. Yeah. So at that time, the person in charge was a Shaivite, Sri Shivachandra Chaudhary, who was a descendant of Kasisvara Goswami's brother. In Vallabhpur, there was a permanent arrangement to cook 9 kilos of rice, vegetables, and other foodstuffs. And near the village, there is sufficient land which belongs to the deity on which this rice was grown. It is said that in the Gaura Ganadesha Dipika, that the servant of Krishna in Vrindavan named Bringar descended as Kasisvara Goswami. So he's a servant of Krishna in the spiritual world during the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In our household life, we also sometimes visited this temple of Vallabhpur Jaipur and took prasad there at noon. The deities of this temple, Sri Sri Radha Govind and Gauranga Vigraha, are extremely beautiful. Near Vallabhapur is another beautiful temple of Jagannath. We sometimes used to take prasad in this temple also. So this is Bhakti Siddhanta, giving an idea. The Chaitanya Charitamrita records, Brahmachari Keshishwar and Sri Govinda were dear disciples of Ishwarapuri. When Ishwarapuri passed into the internal life, Leela of the Lord, and thus attained perfection, the two of them, Keshishwar and Govinda Prabhu, went to Jagannath Puri to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on his order. Since both Keshishwar and Govinda were his godbrothers, the Lord honored them as his peers. Only after considering the order of Ishwarapuri did he accept them as his personal servants, having been instructed to do so by his guru. Sri Govind attended Mahaprabhu personally as his servant, whereas Keshishwar was engaged as a bodyguard to protect the Lord from the crowds when he visited the temple of Jagannath. Thus he would walk in front of the Lord. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the temple of Jagannath, Keshishwar, being very strong, cleared the crowds aside with his hands so that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would pass untouched. Srila Kasisvara Pandit was extremely strong. Kavi Karnapur writes, Kasisvara Pandit and Govinda were formerly those servants of Krishna in Vraj named Bringar and Bangura, who used to bear water from the Yamuna for Krishna. Gauranga asked Kasisvara to move to Vrindavan for worshipping Srila Rupa Goswami's deity of Govindji. Feeling separation from Chaitanya, Kasisvara said, "My Lord, if I must give up your association, my heart will be split in two." Out of compassion for his devotee, Gauranga gave him a deity of himself that was so perfectly formed it exactly resembled the Lord. Gaura Govinda, the deity's name, is a golden form of Krishna playing flute. Then Kasisvara Pandit happily went to Vrindavan to serve Gaura Govinda and Govindji. Today, the original deities of Gaur Govind and Govindji are lovingly adored by thousands of devotees in Jaipur, Rajasthan. Sri Sadhana Deepika says, I worship Sri Kasisvara Pandit, whose power of love and devotion brought Chaitanya to Western Bharat as a deity. Kasisvara Pandit's glories are innumerable and exalted. His disappearance days on the full moon day in the month of Ashwin, on the festival day, which is also celebrated, Maharas, dance of Radha Govindji. So, these are the two wonderful personalities. Wanted to remember them. So, thank you very much. Any questions, any comments about these two personalities? Okay, we can stop there.